In a world where your attention has quietly become the most valuable resource on Earth, everything begins with a moment so small you barely notice it. Every time you pick up your phone, every time you turn on your console after a long, exhausting day, it feels simple. Just a game, a way to relax, to escape, to disconnect from reality for a while. But beneath that simple action, something much bigger is happening. Because that moment, that single decision to just play, is part of one of the largest and fastest growing economic empires in human history. An empire that doesn't rely on oil, doesn't depend on military power, and isn't controlled by governments. An empire built quietly, one player at a time, one session at a time, one click at a time. Today, the gaming industry is no longer just entertainment. It has surpassed Hollywood, it has outgrown the music industry, and it now generates hundreds of billions of dollars every single year. But the real story is not about how big it became. The real story is how it changed. To understand that, we have to go back to a time when games were nothing more than experiments. Simple pixels moving across a screen, basic sounds, limited imagination. Back when playing a game meant finishing it. You bought a cartridge or a disc, you played the game, and eventually you stopped. The relationship was simple, clear, finite. But even back then, some companies saw something others didn't. They didn't just see games as products, they saw them as gateways. Gateways into something far more powerful than entertainment: human attention.
At first, the business model was straightforward. Sell a game, make a profit, move on to the next one. But then, the internet arrived, and everything changed. Games were no longer isolated experiences. They became connected, persistent, alive. They no longer ended. Instead of products, they became worlds. Worlds that evolve, worlds that update, worlds that pull you back again and again. Games like Fortnite and League of Legends didn't just succeed because they were fun. They succeeded because they transformed the entire model. They became platforms, places where players don't just play, they exist, they socialize, they compete, they express themselves, and most importantly, they stay. And that's where the real shift happened. Gaming companies stopped focusing on selling games and started focusing on keeping you inside them. Because once you stay, everything changes. Now the money doesn't come from the purchase, it comes from the experience. Skins, cosmetics, battle passes, seasonal content, microtransactions, small purchases, almost invisible. Individually insignificant, but collectively massive. Billions generated not from a single decision, but from thousands of tiny ones. This is what we could call the economy of nothing. You don't own anything physical. You don't hold anything in your hands. Yet you pay. Again and again and again. And the system works perfectly because it doesn't feel like spending. It feels like playing. At this point, something deeper was understood. Games are not just entertainment. They are economic systems, closed systems. When you buy in-game currency, you are not leaving the system, you are entering it. And once you're inside, everything you do, everything you buy, everything you earn stays within that world. The company becomes everything: the creator, the regulator, the marketplace, the bank. A complete economy designed, controlled, and optimized for one purpose: to keep you engaged. And what makes this system so powerful is that it's invisible. There are no large, shocking payments, no obvious financial commitments, just small, continuous flows. Millions of players spending small amounts over long periods of time. And when you scale that globally, it becomes one of the most profitable systems ever created. But no system is perfect, and no empire grows without pressure. In recent years, the cost of making games has exploded. AAA titles now require hundreds of millions of dollars, massive teams, years of development. The risk has never been higher. For companies, it's no longer about making a good game. It's about making a hit. Because failure is no longer small. It's catastrophic. At the same time, players have changed. They are more aware, more critical, harder to impress. And competition has intensified, not between a few major companies, but between thousands of games, all competing for the same limited resource, your time. And here lies the real truth. The most valuable asset in the gaming industry is not money, it's attention, because attention is time, and time is life. Every hour you spend in one game is an hour you don't spend somewhere else, which turns the industry into something much deeper than entertainment. It becomes a battlefield, a silent war for your focus, for your habits, for your routine, for your daily existence. But the future of this system may go even further, because what's coming next is not just better games, it's entirely new realities. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, immersive digital environments, all moving toward one direction, blurring the line between game and reality. Companies are no longer just building games, they are building worlds. Worlds that could one day feel just as real, just as meaningful, and just as important as the physical world. And that leads us to the most important question of all. Are we playing the games, or are the games slowly learning how to play us? Because in a world where entertainment becomes economy, where time becomes currency, and where attention becomes power, a game is no longer just a game. It is a system that grows silently, expands endlessly, and reshapes how we think, how we behave, and how we spend our lives. And in the grand game of money, the real risk isn't that you play. It's that one day, without even noticing, you stop being the player and become part of the system itself. And if you want to go deeper, to understand the hidden systems behind money, power, and the forces shaping our future, make sure you subscribe to the History of Money channel and turn on notifications. Because here, we don't just tell stories, we reveal the systems behind them.